Okay, today we're going to replace the keyboard on a fucked up MacBook Air. This is a A1466, which is the same shit as the A1369 when it comes to the keyboard. So first step is to get one of these little proprietary screwdrivers. Mine is a best, it's a 1.2. I honestly don't know what that's even measuring. I just know that 1.2 is for the Air, 1.5 is for the star-shaped batteries. A star-shaped battery screw, 0.8 is for the bottom of an iPhone. Now, even though these screwdrivers, cost like $4 or $5 each, they do suck balls. And as you could hear, I have to be careful to make sure I don't strip the screws. Dare I try to use this fucking thing more than 3 or 5 times? Because Apple couldn't just use T3 or something that's actually standardized. No, they had to go ahead and use this bullshit. I totally get the argument that these screws are so small that you gotta use something where it won't strip, but like, what the fuck is wrong with T3? T3 is just fine. And I can buy screwdrivers that don't suck balls that use T3. How can I help you? Yes, sir. It's a $150 plus tax. Yes, sir. Anything but Amex. You could buy it online and then just bring the receipt in, and because there's this option on our website for in-store repair, but we can't take payments over the phone. Yes, sir. No, the iPad mini is much more than 20 minutes. You would most likely be picking it up by the end of the day. At the very least. RossmanGroup.com. RossmanGroup.com. We can actually do an iPad much quicker than that. That guy sounded like a crackhead and a jackass. And he was pissed off at the price, so like I give a fuck if I make you wait. Alright. First thing I have to do here is take out the motherboard. Remember, on Apple, nothing is easy. This can't be like no PC where you take out 4 screws and boop, keyboard pops right out. Now this is a T5 screwdriver. See, standard. I don't have to go searching everywhere to buy yet another one of these because they strip every 5 uses. Let me get this a little more in view. You have no idea how much time it took to get this piece of shit tripod in this position. Notice I unplugged the battery before I started doing anything. You should do that. Sometimes I don't do that, but I know how to fix what I blow up. So unless you do too, unplug the battery. Sometimes there's a screw hidden under the SSD, sometimes there isn't. This one does, so I'm glad I took it out. Be careful with the SSD, because if you fuck that up, you will never get data off of it. I don't scrape the board. The screwdriver does not touch the board when I remove the webcam cable like that. Don't scratch anything. You don't want to scratch this delicate shit. They made the fan a flex cable. So what this means is if you rip anything, you can't just solder the fan cable to the motherboard like you used to be able to. You'd have to buy a new connector or be skilled enough in soldering in order to solder a flex cable directly to the motherboard. That's another one of those thank you Apple moments. Gently slid that out. Now here's the fuck shit. See right here? There's a fucking screw in there. See, I'm gonna zoom in on it so that you don't fuck this up. You believe this shit? I know there's some people out there that may not believe me, so I'm gonna take it out. Okay, now since it's too much of a pain in the ass to remove without two hands, I'm gonna let go of the tripod, which means it'll immediately go out of view. Stay. That's right. Okay, here we are, you little fuck. Yes, perfect place for a screw. Suck it, Apple. Okay. Back to work. Stop moving. Good tripod. Okay. Got that out. My board wiggles. The board sticks. Probably because of some vodka or some shit on the other side. Smells like vodka. Smells like a fun Friday night. Okay. Also gotta take the battery out, don't forget about that. Uses T5 screws, standard. Thank you, Apple. I gotta check on another machine. And back to this. And back to unscrewing all the fucking screws if I want the battery to come out. There we go. This is the longest, second longest, shortest. There we go. Battery. I don't get what people mean when they say the battery's not removable and the new MacBook Air is not user removable. What do you mean not user removable? You mean you gotta buy a $2 screwdriver in order to get it out? Oh, my heart pumps piss for you. Try taking the battery out of a fucking Retina. You know I broke the battery taking it out of the box to put it into a Retina? Seriously, there's 5 little very small flex cables that all go towards this one board in the middle, and some are longer and shorter than others. So if one of these battery packets, which by the way is not held together in a nice plastic frame, falls, it ruins the cable. And that battery it cost me something like $86. I wanted to fucking cry. But this is very user removable. So these speakers are just stuck down with this adhesive. Regular, nothing special. Don't bend the speaker because then they go back in fucked up, and if they go back in fucked up, they sound fucked up. Just zing, slowly pry away, and yeah. So on this machine, unlike the older ones, or the regular ones, the keyboard plugs into the trackpad, and the trackpad then plugs into the computer. You may remember the original Air where the keyboard and the trackpad plugged into some middle board that then plugged into the computer. Well, you may not remember the original Air because you've programmed yourself to forget it since it's such a miserable machine to work on. I have, kind of. I don't miss that piece of shit. I love when a device that comes out that is a complete piece of shit and a lot of ways to work on winds up becoming obsolete and nobody buys it because they don't like it, like with the original Air. That's what I like. Okay. Board is out. You don't have to take the heatsink off. I'm not replacing the thermal paste because this machine is, again, it really has not, it's not dirty, it's not nasty, you know, why waste time? So, this is the back. And this cable, again, goes from the trackpad to the machine. So the keyboard connects to the trackpad, and the trackpad connects to the computer. I cannot tell you how many fucking times I've lost this thing and had to search the entire store for this when it was actually sitting right on the old backlight. So, take this out and put it aside along with your screws and everything else, and remember where it is so you don't lose it like me. You don't want to be a dumbass like I am. So this is a keyboard cable. You can just go zing. Technically you're supposed to lift this, but yeah, I'm not fucking with that. Like trying to fucking fit this under here and lift that thing. Nah, I'm just gonna take it out and I'm good. So, not so fast because we have to get this old backlight off. I do plan on using this thing since it is good. I'm gonna be honest with you. You can rip the fuck out of this backlight and it'll still work perfectly fine, and it'll look perfectly fine too. It'll never be noticeable. But for the sake of the video, I am gonna try to not rip it at all. Even though, again, you can get away with ripping it as long as you don't rip straight right through the LEDs. You're fine. So if you have ripped this a little bit, don't go, oh, I broke it. I'm screwed. No, you're really not. Just don't rip this. Don't rip. You'll see where it's, you know, it's a little indented. That's where the LEDs are, and that's, ripping that is just a bad thing to do. Because then you have to buy another one. There are so many tools I could be using that are better than a flathead for this. Tons. They're probably even within reach. Like, yeah, let's see this thing. This actually sucks because I destroyed the tip of it on the fucking MacBook Air videos. Let's see. You know what? I'm just gonna rip this a little bit. I don't care. I'm not in public office. If I'm ever famous enough that people actually refer back to me ripping a portion of a MacBook Air keyboard backlight in a YouTube video I did in my early 20s, I'll probably be rich enough that I just won't care. So, okay, let's. Oh yeah, I ripped a little bit of it there. I think part of it has to do with the fact that I know I can get away with ripping it, because the first times that I did this I didn't rip it, because I thought that if I ripped it, you know, my life would be over. So. What matters is aligning it when you put it back in the computer. You can have a brand new backlight that you put on here that looks worse than a used up one with fucking cat hair and fuzz and tears in it if you don't align it properly, because if you don't align it properly you'll only see light right in the middle of the keyboard, and that's very bad. Sometimes the layers are that fucked up that you'll only see light in the middle of the keyboard, and sometimes that's not your fault. But sometimes it is. And if you do wind up ripping some of this, don't cringe, don't go, life is over. It really isn't. Especially if you're replacing it because of a spill, sometimes this shit will be stuck down there so fucking hard that there's just no removing it. Oh, I'm not gonna lose no sleep over that. Again, trust me, it's just not gonna make much of a difference. If any difference at all. We're aligning it right is what's important. Time for me to check on the other job again. Back to work. So, there are all these little black screws around the keyboard. You have to take those out. How can I help you? I'm sorry, sir. We don't have anything for those, so I wouldn't be able to help you. You could try a place on 97 Christie Street, though. 97 Christie Street, called JM Wireless. You're welcome. Nokia N900. Get the fuck out of here. No. No. Oh. Weird, it's the third phone call this week I've gotten for that fucking thing. I think I was still in high school when that thing was popular. I shouldn't say the word popular. How many people have you seen with a Nokia N900? I think that thing had a resistive touchscreen. I could be wrong. I remember when I was thinking of getting that or the BlackBerry Storm, and for some fucked up reason I chose a BlackBerry Storm, and that decision still haunts me until today. Remember, it had the answer and the ignore buttons in the bottom left and right, and when you moved it from portrait to landscape, the positioning of the buttons would change so that answer would be ignore and ignore would be answer. So there were a lot of times where I wanted to pick up the phone for somebody, and I wound up hitting ignore because I was changing from landscape to portrait. And that happened 3 times in a row while I was speaking to somebody who wanted to loan me a sizable sum of money a while ago. So I wound up taking that BlackBerry Storm and throwing it into the Penn Station area of Madison Square Garden, where it says Madison Square Garden, and they have all the advertisements on those large stairwell. Yeah, I threw that fucking thing as hard as I could, and ran straight to the office of said dude who wanted to loan me a large sum of money. Yeah, that phone damn near cost me 5 figures a while ago. What a piece of shit. What a piece of fucking shit. Design, man. Okay. 1 screw left. So. Oh no, that's the end. They attach the keyboard to the case. There's nothing I can do. Fuck. I guess I gotta end this thing, cut this thing short. Or, this is my favorite part of the day, I swear to God. legally destroying an Apple product and getting paid for it is very cathartic for me. Fuck you. Fuck you. You have to be important that you didn't leave any screws in at this point. Suck it. It's done. Okay. Now, this is very, very important. It's going to separate you, the professional, from the fuckwit undercutting you on Craigslist. These are held in by these little rivets. Let me see if I have any here. Now, sometimes portions of the rivet get stuck behind. And when that happens, it's not going to sit in perfectly even. It's not going to sit in right. And when that happens, you're going to see the keys are depressed. Let's see if I have an example here that I can zoom in on. I sincerely doubt that I will, because I think I took it off cleanly, and also, as I've said before, this camera is complete and utter dog shit. Yeah, you see how there's like a little notch sticking up? 12 o'clock. Or maybe 10 o'clock? Fuck if I can tell from the angle I'm looking at this thing at. But yeah, you gotta get rid of all those. Every single notch. So where's that flathead that I've been destroying? Okay. No, tripod, fuck off. Okay, good. And just do something like this. This came off pretty clean. I'm happy with this. Also, those little rivet screw things are going to be sitting on the screen. You'll want to do something like this and just open the computer, shake it on your floor a little bit. Usually I like to clean these after a spill. But this vodka being high in alcohol content actually did a good job of cleaning this computer. There's just about nothing in between here that requires cleaning. So, none of that. But when you're up at this point, you should take alcohol on a Q-tip and do something like this around every key. It'll let it sit in better. If you spill Coca-Cola, anything syrupy on it, you're going to want to do that, or your keys are going to feel fucked up when you replace the keyboard. Now let me get a keyboard for this thing. If you're like me and you have your keyboards all in the same box, you can tell the 11-inch from the 13-inch Air keyboard apart because this top row of buttons is thicker on the 13-inch Air. Okay. Now while you're putting it in, look for where any of these rivets may not be fitting in properly. Look really carefully. Now, I use my black original screws to go on the inside because there are holes here where the keyboard is going to screw in. That's what the black original screws are for, because they're better than the ones that you can buy off eBay. But obviously, since most of this was held in by rivets, and now there's nothing there, I'm going to be using screws to hold that in. But that, I'm using the outside screws. So what am I going to use for outside screws? Well, you are going to have to buy screws along with your keyboard. So if you're watching this right now and all you did was buy the keyboard without buying keyboard screws, I'm sorry to announce that you are fucked. Do not pass go, do not finish fixing your computer. Head on to eBay right now, even though I hate eBay, and spend $5 on a bag of MacBook Air screws. It's the same for the 11-inch and the 13-inch, and usually they include way more in the bag than you actually need, which is cool because it gives you the freedom to lose all these screws as you go. It's a nice thing on Apple's part. I'm not really comfortable with the low amount of screws that you need on some of these models. I like the idea of being able to secure the keyboard in there a little better, but I live with it. 1 minute, customers. I hate how the shittiest things happen to the nicest people. It kills me inside. It really does. How can I help you? Yes, sir, from 10-8. Ah, see you soon. You're welcome. I chose the day of a blizzard to do this video, because I figured there would be minimal interruption. I spoke too soon. How can I help you? We do. It would be a 120 plus tax. That's always a good idea. There's only a 1% chance of data loss, but, you know, it's always good to have it backed up. Yeah. If you brought it in tomorrow or earlier on, it would be done the same day. If you brought it in at the end of the day, it would be done by the next day. Yeah, usually the same day if you bring it in early enough. Awesome. All right, you're welcome, sir. You have a nice day. I always make sure to wish nice people a nice day, and I always sure to hang up without saying anything to the assholes. I just lost a screw. But luckily, since I have an entire bag of these, I don't give a fuck. I actually have about 20 bags of these. So I could lose all of these. Here, fuck that. I'm gonna throw that one away just for fun. That's right. I love the ability to lose screws. I don't like losing them, but I love when I have a spare of it and it's right there, so I don't have to care. That makes me happy. It's the small things in life that make me happy. This little rivet tried to sneak its way in. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. GTFO. Time for the screw bag. some screws here. Woo. Now these screws usually suck balls compared to the original, which is why for the middle I use the original screw, because those are holes that don't really have the screw holes in there yet. But they're not as, you know, they don't have the ridges like this one does. After watching this, you're probably running to the part which is like $100 or $150 where you buy the entire top case instead of replacing the individual keyboard. I hear you. I don't blame you. I think I would do the same thing if, you know, that wasn't my profit margin, but would totally do the same thing if this were my personal computer. Fuck this shit. Then again, my personal computer is this. Not only is this a keyboard that's much better, not only is this keyboard spill resistant, so I don't have to give a fuck about this whole replacing it because I got a drop of vodka in it, but I can also replace it in under 20 seconds, which is more than I can say for this. One of the things I like to do is always make it somebody else's problem when somebody's presenting me with a problem that I don't really feel responsible for. So when I give somebody the price for this job, and they go, "Why is it so expensive?" I always make sure to turn it back on them and go, "Why did you buy an Apple? Buy a computer where I can replace the keyboard in 20 seconds, and you'll be amazed how much cheaper it is than when I have to go through this fuckity fuck shit." Oh, I love when people come in and go, "I replaced the keyboard on my Inspiron and it was so easy and the keyboard was $15. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sometimes just to fuck with people, I'll tell them, "Well, the Air isn't that much different from the Inspiron. We're just expensive because it's New York." And then they buy the keyboard and then they go to do it. And they have no fucking idea what they're in for. And they come back and go, "Why didn't you tell me it was so much harder?" Oh, I thought you meant a different computer. Oh, sorry, dude. You have to have something to think about while you're doing this. Something to ponder over. Anything that interrupts you from the complete and utter mind-numbingness of taking 150 or whatever small screws out and replacing them with different ones. Because this is just not fun. You should look at your keyboard, you know, make sure it don't look like shit. Make sure the keys are nice and even. I'm not even going to try to show you the fact that the keys are even on this with this tripod. That's just a complete and utter fucking waste. How are you?
Hey there.
What can I do for you?
My MacBook Air doesn't turn on at all for some reason.
Let's take a look.
What's that?
Sometimes I like just being an asshole, but, you know, honestly, I get so tired of that self-diagnosis shit. Like, you know, I'm not going to fix the problem that you want to have. I'm going to fix the problem that you actually have. I should set a flat rate to fix the problem that somebody wants to have. I think that would get rid of a lot of that shit. Like, I will fix this specific issue for $50. Now, if that doesn't fix your problem, it's still $50. Want to go ahead with your diagnosis? I actually did that a couple of times. Nobody was stupid enough to go ahead with it. So, I just hit my head on the camera while I was insulting stupidity. That's a good one. All right, so I'm gonna put this little flex cable in here. This is the best. I think this is like one of the funniest things Apple has done, like putting this lever here and this flex over here. Wow, this is just a fuck you to our entire profession right here. Anyway, so plugged in, and let's put the backlight on next. Want to line this thing up properly? Remember what I said. On the Air, it's actually easy to line up because they have these points that stick out. I think they were tired of people misaligning the backlights on the A1286 and A1278 models of yore, that they decided to make it easy. Just a little bit easier so that people would stop fucking it up. I appreciate that. Thank you, Apple. That's very, very Christian of you. So, I'm gonna put a little line of adhesive back on the speaker since I ripped it off last time. You don't have to take the old adhesive off of the speaker unless you have OCD like I do and just can't stand knowing that you're using used adhesive. Certified pre-owned adhesive. You can buy this shit on eBay. I don't buy it from eBay because I fucking hate eBay, but you can buy it from eBay. It's the 3M Core Series tape. It's awesome. $3 a roll. I probably shouldn't be saying that out loud because I'm probably going to have it on sale for 15 or 21 bucks someday. But on the other hand, I don't give a fuck if you know what I pay for it because that's what I'm going to be charging for it. It's good stuff though. Very, very good stuff. I buy mini rolls. I go through a lot of them. I use them to hold up everything from the autographs in the front of the store to, I guess, the autographs in the front of the store. Yeah. You can use it on iPads, MacBook Glass, the MacBook Air polarizers. It's good shit. Good stuff. Here, little motherboard. Go into the computer, little motherboard. Oh, come on. Be a good motherboard. Oh, that's right. I'm a dumbass who put the speaker in before the motherboard. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Yeah. Man, it doesn't matter how many times you do this. If you're an idiot like me, you'll do something silly each time. Make clearance from the Wi-Fi wire. Clear the Wi-Fi wire out of the way because you need that space to screw in that little hidden screw that I zoomed in on before. Remember that stupid little screw that I showed you before? It's hiding under everything. This screw reminds me of that screw that they introduced in the iPhone 4 for Verizon, where it was in the upper left corner right next to the battery, and it was hidden under a little piece of black tape. So the only fucking way that you would ever know that that screw is there is if you already broke the phone by breaking the motherboard, by taking it out, not knowing that that screw was hiding there, waiting for you. This little rubber thing here as well, you, honestly, if you lose it or can't figure out how to misalign it, it's not the end of the world. I hate this little rubber thing personally.
Thank you.
Alright.
Just a quick question. My son broke his laptop just this weekend. I just now walked past. What's like an average cost on an old white, it's like the what I call the chiclet, but it's just a white Mac laptops.
What's wrong with it?
It looks like it's just been stepped on.
Is the screen broken?
Yeah.
You'd be looking at 200 plus tax, since it's it's a hard to find the screen for that model since it's discontinued.
Okay.
If it's this one, like where you cannot see the battery on the bottom, this one is 170.
Oh, okay.
If it's this one, it is worth doing. If it's the old white one, like I wouldn't fix it.
Just buy a new one.
Yeah, something else will go wrong with it right after you fix the screen on it.
Okay. All
But
right.
yeah, so look on the bottom. If it has the little penny hole thing for the screw,
I know what you're talking about.
if it has that, don't fix it.
Okay.
If it doesn't have that, then do fix it.
I'm gonna steal one of these business cards if that's okay.
Of course, absolutely.
Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
You too. Sure. I knew that he was not from New York even before he said the word mate, because he's not a douchebag. Usually people that are from New York are douchebags. Look at how happy and peppy he is. He's happy just that I answered his question. Half the time people aren't even fucking happy in New York if you fix their shit within an hour and charge them half what somebody else was. People that aren't from New York are the best. The best, I'm telling you. My birds are having a conversation. You hear that? You hear that? I love T5 screws. You never have to worry about stripping them. It's almost impossible to strip a T5 or a T6. Like, you have to just be a complete clusterfuck to strip a T5 or a T6 screw. But if you do, you can use a T7 screwdriver, which you may have not even heard of until now, because the T7 screwdriver will get out a T6 if you stripped it. It's my secret weapon against idiocy. Stuff like this little wire, realigning this properly is completely worth the time to do. Don't let it like get jammed and shit, because these things are really easy to rip. You're ensured a quicker path to heaven, I'm sure, if you align the wires properly. They say that character is not what a man does when he is being watched is what he does when he's not being watched. And that's how I feel about properly aligning the wires inside of a laptop. Nobody will ever know if I totally fucked it up. Because most of the time you can misalign them and it will still work. is coming from the same guy who was totally okay ripping pieces of the backlight. If you have backlight issues on your MacBook Air, no backlight, or this funny issue when you plug it in and you have no backlight, but you unplug it and it has backlight, or vice versa, this cable is often to blame. Toshiba SSD. What a pile of fucking shit, man. There was this Toshiba SSD I was copying stuff off of. It was earlier today. It was one of these using the caddy. 119 megabyte per second read to my array. Are you kidding me? It was a small SSD. It was the 64 gig, but still. It came out of a 2012 machine. In 2012, you're selling a computer for $1,000 with an SSD, and that piece of shit has a transfer rate of 119 megabytes per second. It's foul. That's what I'm interested in. Not some benchmarks that some website does. I'm interested in how it actually works when I need it to work. I plug in the cheapest Samsung SSD. Cheapest. 249 megabytes per second. Right out the gate. Dude, with Did you rescuing an image to my RAID array? But Toshiba? 109. And then you have those Toshiba 512 gig SSDs that were all on sale during Black Friday. Those actually get higher transfer rates than the Samsung, but they randomly stutter and freeze sometimes for no reason. Like right after Black Friday, a good dozen people brought that shit in with that fucked up ass Toshiba SSD, wondering why their computer was so slow. Why it was freezing randomly. It's freezing randomly because the person who bought this for you bought you a piece of shit. I'm sorry, sir. Guess your brother-in-law doesn't like you as much as you thought. Okay. Now I'm doing something that you should never do, especially if you have luck like mine. What I'm about to do is screw this fucker in before I test it. And this has always ended in great failure for me. It goes against a lot. Every time I screw something in before I test it, the piece of shit winds up not fucking working. This cover is making me humble. Aha. This rubber piece is making me humble. Correction. If something's not going in, you can push a couple of times to kind of feel out where it is. But if it's not going in, don't actually slam the fuck out of it to get it to go in. Because that's where things break. Things don't break when people make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time. Doesn't matter how many times you've done this, you're going to make mistakes. When things break is when you make a mistake and go, no, fuck that. I think I'm gonna keep going. No, it's supposed to go in, I'm gonna keep going. No, don't push if the shit's not going in right. I pushed a little more just to see where it was. I noticed it wasn't going in right. I looked again, I saw what it was. I could have fucked something up terribly if I just wanted to jam it in there as hard as I could. But that's not the kind of person I am. Patience is everything. To keep a level head. That's why I laugh when I see these people that get angry over everything on forums, or there was this one person, oh man, on fucking eTech Parts Facebook page. He was like bitching on and on and on and on and on about this shipping thing. I forget, and then like 3 hours later, he's like, "Why hasn't anybody responded to me?" And I made some post like, "Chillax. There's a blizzard. It's been 3 hours. They're probably covered in snow. The company might have something more to do than responding to your little inquiry on Facebook." Like, and I put a bunch of little smileys. The guy gets back to me like, "Fuck you, douche. Why don't you mind your own fucking business?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa. 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 Totally unnecessary. But you see, if you can't handle that shit, then what the fuck are you gonna do when this little piece gets stuck? Are you gonna be patient with it? Or are you gonna go, "Oh, fuck you," and break it? That's why it's important to be calm, relaxed, own yourself, own what you're doing. Now, if you're like me, you probably lack the patience to figure out if this thing works going into the OS. I am not about to wait for the little fucking Apple logo to load and all that other shit to figure out if my awesome keyboard job works. So I held down Apple S as soon as I turned the computer on, which boots me into single user mode. There are a lot of cool things you can do in single user mode, but above all, I can see that all the keys in the keyboard work without waiting to boot it into the OS. Because those couple of seconds right after you fix something, you want to know that it works, that kills you, kills me inside. I'm going to clean it off a little bit, and we're done. So, good luck with yours. Yeah, remember what... Piece of shit Wi-Fi. Remember what I said about plugging it in? Remember what I said about not testing it before I plugged it in? Yeah, that jackass forgot to plug the fucking fan in. I knew that was a little too quiet even for a MacBook Air. Now I'm happy.